ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले सोऽयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूष सर्ववेदैकसत्पद सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्पद सर्वभागवतप्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभु फलिध्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्ष्यक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु मे मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधुता दायिन् अति नीचोच्चता कर हानमुंच कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णारथ कंठ योस्पुर श्रीमद्भागवत महापुराणम के ये हरे कृष्णा. So welcome all of you in today's session. Today we will continue our discussions from 11th canto. Today we wish to begin chapter first uh, of the 11th canto. Last time we had discussed the bhumika, the beginning or introduction to this particular chapter. So that was discussed. Now from today onwards, we wish to go ahead and discuss the verses. Just, just give me a minute. Yes, so we want to discuss the verses starting from today. So I'll just share the presentation and then proceed. So this is Canto 11 and first chapter, the curse upon the Yadu dynasty. So in last time, in last session, we have discussed about how the major topic of 11th canto, the Pradhana Vishay, that is Mukti, and we also discussed about opinions of Srila Sridhar Swami and Vishwanath Chakravarti talking about all the various contents of this particular canto. So we discussed about how in this canto there are two primary conversations. One is about Vasudeva and Narada, which is in chapters 2 to 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then there is another conversation starting from chapter 7 between Krishna and Uddhava and going on, that goes on all the way up to chapter 29. So those are two major conversations, Samasa and Vyasa. We talked about what is spoken by Narada to Vasudeva, that is summarily Samasa, and same is elaborated, Vyasa, same is elaborated by Krishna to Uddhava. So various teachings here, the teachings of Atma Tattva for the devotees, also the Lord's arrangement to take back the Yadus, um, and also bestowing his mercy on Brahma and others. Srila Jiva Goswami also highlights some of the uh, perspectives on on this canto by talking about all these conversations like Vasudeva and Narada or Krishna and Uddhava. They are meant for primarily for us, conditioned souls, the personalities themselves, like Vasudeva or Uddhava. They are great devotees. They are Lord's eternal associates. So they are just becoming instruments so that we can understand, we can receive these instructions. So Sridhar Swami or Vishwanath Chaturvedi, they also have style of writing. So in the beginning of chapter, the acharyas they have a style of writing. They write the karikas, right? So these karikas give you the contents of that particular chapter. So Sridhar Swami writes karika, Vishwanath Chakravarti also writes karika. Srila Jiva Goswami sometimes, but yeah, mostly he does not. Many other acharyas also write karikas, which are their own self-composed verses, which talk about the contents of that. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti and especially Sridhar Swami, they very much make sure to write a karika and thereby give the contents of the chapter. So we discussed their karikas also last time. So finally, coming to this chapter, we see that there is 24 verses in this 24 texts. So out of which first two verses they mention it's sort of a summary from the 10th canto. And then from text 3 to 7, we talk about Krishna's thoughts about the Yadu dynasty, and that how he wanted to destroy the Yadu dynasty. Then on that, Parikshit asks questions, two questions. He asks in two verses his questions 8 and 9. And then finally, Shukdev Goswami, he recounts the story of disappearance of Yadus from text 10 onwards, 10 to 24. Okay, so this is what we had discussed last time. So now starting from today's first verse, we will proceed. Yeah. So this is text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Kritva Daityavadham Krishnaha Saramo Yadubhirvritah Bhuvovatarayadharam Javishtham Janayan Kadim. Okay, so I will switch between the windows also. I will also use the Veda base. So for understanding this text, Padached, Padarthokti, and Vigraha, the synonyms, that is where this is addressed. See, for first few verses, I just want to show you sort of the steps, Vyakhyanam Panchalakshana. After that, we should be moving very fast because Padached, Padarthokti, Vigraha, these are typically already addressed within the synonyms or word for word meaning. Like that. So I will also share the screen from Vedabase. whenever needed. Okay. So Padachhed, Padarthokti, and Vigraha, these are the first steps where we see that every pada. See, this is a pada here. Now, you can see this is text. This is a verse in English. Uh, in Sanskrit, it is. See, in Sanskrit, you can call any text as padya. Padya. Shloka is typically a very particular kind of padya. Shloka is Anushtup Chanda, in which there are 8 syllables per quarter. That is called as shloka. There is definition of shloka also. Shloka is within Anushtup also. Anushtup Chanda is the meter that you see in Bhagavad Gita. So now that Anushtup, within that, shloka is a very specific one, even within Anushtup. Within Anushtup Chanda, not every text need to be shloka, not necessary. So shloka has a specific definition of Laghu Guru. Uh, we are not getting into that. You don't have to worry. But what I want to say is, when we talk about verse as shloka, uh, so in general, we can, by shloka, we want to mean text or verse, right? But shloka is actually quite a specific uh, version or type of anushtup that way. So if you want to say in general in Sanskrit any text, so then you say padya. That's the word. This padya, uh, first padya, like that. So this is the first verse or first padya, and in this you see there are different words here, and these words their meanings they are handled in synonyms. So padacheda literally means separating all the padas, actually, separation of the various padas. So pada basically means a word in Sanskrit. But that word can be a verb also, or it can be a noun also. Like in this particular verse, if you see avatara yat, it is a verb. Avatara yat, removed. Uh, Bharam avatara yat, he removed, Krishna removed the burden. But this avatara yat is also known as pada, just as Daitya Vadham is known as pada. So padacheda, that's why. So what it means is you split all the padas separately. You separate them out in Sanskrit. There are various rules because of which padas come together. And there are sandhi rules, especially. Because of sandhi, you see that the various padas can get tucked into each other. It is possible. So in that case, you do chedanam, you separate them out like that. So that is padacheda. Then you mentioned the meaning of every pada, like kritva is a pada here. So then what is the meaning of this word? Uh, kritva. So that is called padarthokti. Padarthokti. Pada artha ukti. I'm mentioning the meaning of the pada. Vigraha is splitting the compounds. Like here, daitya vadham. It is one compounded word, daitya vadham. So that particular word, it means that the killing of the demons or the killing of the daityas. So now daitya vadham, it is compounded word. It is a samasik shabda. You have to split into vigraha. So then when you split, then the meaning becomes clear to you. And here daitya vadham means uh, basically daityanam vadha, daitya vadha, the killing of the demons. So it is a samasa. is a Tatpurush Samasa. So this splitting of words is called as uh, Vigraha. You split it. So for us, this is already being done, especially within the synonyms. Prabhupada himself also gave, and the same style is followed by Prabhupada's disciples. So, unless and until you are very keen to understand Sanskrit text and you are trying to learn Sanskrit and all, you may refer to synonyms and you may understand what is the meaning of that particular pada, hmm, like that. Those of you who are planning to study Sanskrit or have already studied Sanskrit and want to understand the text very systematically. So for you, it will be more pronounced and more visible. These aspects like Vigraha. So we see this in the synonyms already. So if you go to synonyms, here you can see Sri Shuka Uvacha, Sri Shuka said, Kritva having performed Daityavadham, the killing of the demons. You can see the padas are separated, Daityavadham. So then in that case, the word means the killing of the demons, like that. Actually, it is one word, Daityavadham. So meaning of that will be killing of the demons. If you want to do Vigraha, then you have to split it further. So yeah, Krishna is Lord Krishna. Saramo, it is a qualifier for Krishna, which means along with Balaram, accompanied by Balaram. Not only he is accompanied by Balaram, he is also Yadubhir Vritaha. He is Vritaha means surrounded. By whom? By Yadus. So Krishna is qualified by two words here. You can understand? Krishna is Sarama and Krishna is Yadubhir Vritaha. Krishna is along with Balaram and Krishna is surrounded by the Yadus. Those two adjectives have been used for Krishna. So as we go ahead, you will become more accustomed to this kind of style of understanding the text and which words are qualifiers or adjectives for which word. So then for you, the text becomes very easy to understand because I know for Krishna, these two qualifiers are there. And then for other words, these are the qualifiers. And the whole thing becomes quite clear this way. Bhuvaha of the earth, avatarayat. So avatarayat means he caused the burden to be uh, removed, like that. Bharam is the burden. And he did that by creating or raising a huge fight or quarrel. What is that? Javishtham Kalim Janayan. Uh, Janayan means he caused, or rather, he raised it, he caused it to appear. What? The great battle of Kurukshetra. He caused it to appear. And then by that, he accomplished the uh, the removal of the burden of earth. So in these texts, if you see, whenever you analyze the Sanskrit text now, the most important thing is the verb. You have to first catch the verb. Anybody who wants to get a sense of Sanskrit verse, the first thing is Kriya Padam, uh, Tingant Rupam. All these words are for verb only. Kriya, Kriya Padam, Tingant Rupam. So verb is very important because once you understand verb, then you immediately can understand what is the subject, karta, and then based on that you can also analyze what is object, karma, and everything. So verb is very important. If you cannot catch the verb in a Sanskrit text, then you will not understand what's happening. Always we go ahead with the verb, the Kriya Pada. So the verb here is avatarayat. Avatarayat. He caused the burden to be removed. Avatarayat, meaning to put down. Avatarayat is basically he caused it to be unburdened. So he here is Krishna, and the subject is Krishna. Krishna avatarayat. Krishna kim avatarayat? What did Lord Krishna uh, get rid of or remove? Uh, so that is bharam, the burden. Krishna caused the burden to be removed. Acha, whose bharam? Whose burden? Bhuvaha, the burden of the earth. So like this, one thing starts opening up. Uh, so that's why you begin with the verb. That is very important. So he removed he got the earth's burden removed by accomplish accomplishing something beforehand only. What was that? Uh, Daityavadham kritva, by accomplishing the killing of the demons. Uh, Daityavadham kritva. So Krishna first he accomplished the killing of many demons himself. Uh, uh, Also with Balaram's assistant, Sir Ramo, that Krishna is Sir Rama. Krishna is along with Balaram. So Balaram also accomplished killing of many demons, isn't it? Uh, Balaram killed also Pralamba and Vivida, such demons. Uh, Yadubhir Vrataha, and the Yadus also assisted in killing some other demoniac people, right? So that's how accomplishing that particular thing. So the sense here is that Krishna himself he killed many demons, uh, and then what he did is then especially to get rid of the burden of the earth in a very uh, wholesome way, in a complete way, entire way. So he also raised this great battle of Kurukshetra. Javishtham Janayan Kalim. What he did is he raised Janayan. He spawned the great fight or quarrel, Kali. Javishtham, Kali is said to be Javishtham, which means that very, very powerful, very, very fierce battle that he uh, raised that kind of fight and he accomplished unburdening of the earth through that. So now what I have done is I have just taken English translation only, and there I have put these words now so that it is easy for you to understand. You can see Vakya Yojana, it is mapped with English translation. I have just taken the translation of BBT, Prabhupada Disciples, as it is. And then which word is translated there, it is put into bracket. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Sri Shuka Uvach. So this is another way of doing the Vakya Yojana. If you go by Sanskrit, then the Sanskrit, first you do Vakya Yojana, meaning you arrange the statement as per Sanskrit, and then the translation is accomplished. Here we are doing opposite way. We are taking the translation and then just showing that how that translation is based upon the words of the verse in that particular manner. So that is Vakya Yojana. See, if there is the students are Sanskrit, then the same thing I teach in a different way, where we go by Sanskrit, word by word, and then the Sanskrit, the Sanskrit in the manner of Sanskrit. But here we are going because not everybody may be educated in Sanskrit. So I'm just taking English translation and going ahead with that, just showing you what is which word corresponds to what in that manner. So Vakya Yojana is needed in Sanskrit because the Sanskrit is in Padya form. It is not in Gadya form, right? I mean, whenever the text is in Padya form, that is when you need Vakya Yojana. Because what happens in Sanskrit, your verb your noun, your subject, object could be anywhere. When we speak Sanskrit or speak any language, we speak in a particular way, right? We speak first subject, and then we may speak object, and then finally uh, uh, we may speak the verb, or it depends basically which language you speak. Like English is there, right? So if you see, you want to say that Rama sees a deer. uh, Rama, we have put the subject in the beginning. Sees is a verb, and finally object is a deer. So you are following subject and then verb and object. Now, when you want to talk in Sanskrit, uh, you don't talk in this way. We here talk subject and then object and then finally the verb. Ramaha mrigam pashyati. Rama sees a deer, this way. But when you come to a text meaning a padya, then this whole arrangement can be in any way. It doesn't have to follow this order of a prose. That's what is difference between a padya and a gadya. Gadya means you will follow a certain order. Ramaha mrigam pashyati. But when I am writing a verse, by which I mean padya, then I don't have to follow that order. I can write anyway. Gachati Ramaha, Pashyati Ramaha mrigam, va mrigam Ramaha pashyati, va mrigam pashyati Ramaha. In any way I can put, the meaning won't change. Sanskrit is like that defined. The syntax remains very compact and very much fixed. Mm. So this is why Vakya Yojana is needed. You understand? Because the Sanskrit text may have placed the words in the way that the speaker wants to have it. Why do they change this order? Well, they may do for it for various purposes, like they may do it for sometimes to match the rhyme, or sometimes they do it just to give that poetic sort of sense. Sometimes it is done also to, certain words go well with, from the angle of beauty of the language, they go well with certain another set of words. Artha Saundarya, Pada Saundarya. For such purposes, you can see that the Sanskrit Padya will not follow the order like a Gadya, like a prose, where we speak. While speaking, we don't speak in a poetic. I mean, we can use poetic words, but we speak in a certain way. There is subject spoken first, and then there is verb, and there is object. That's how you speak. So this whole purpose of Vakya Yojana is to do that. Hmm. Otherwise, you can see, right? Shri Shuka Uvacha, here, this is fine, but like Kritva is the first word. So Kritva Daityavadham, uh, having performed Daityavadham, the killing of the demons. But how we are starting is Lord Shri Krishna, or how BBT translation is starting is Lord Shri Krishna, because the subject is being put in the first place. It is English language, so and also we are putting now in the prose fashion. So that's how it begins with Krishna. Although you see the text is not beginning with Krishna, it is beginning with Kritva, uh, which means having performed or having executed, having done this way. So this is why the Vakya Yojana is needed. I think now it must be clear to you why this Padya needs to be changed into Gadya. That is what is Anvaya. You have heard this term Anvaya. Uh, Anvaya, they say, okay, Sanskrit Anvaya, you should do Anvaya. So this is what is Anvaya basically. Anvaya means the text of the Sanskrit is in Padya, and then you change it to Gadya so that it is readable. Ishwar Prabhu, can you read the translation?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Lord Sri Krishna, accompanied by Balram and surrounded by the Yadu dynasty, executed the killing of many demons. Then, further to remove the burden of earth, the Lord arranged for the great battle of Kurukshetra, which suddenly erupted in violence between the Kurus and the Pandavas. Right.
So this is how you can see that you can also map the English translation to the Sanskrit words. You just have to make sure that all the words of the text they are understood, so that you understand where uh, the translation, the part of the translation where it is coming. This way. Okay. So that was the part of uh, English translation mapping, Vakya Yojana, or also known as Anvayartha, Anvaya. So now you can see Sridhar Swami, while commenting on this particular text, he says that what is the purpose of the text? See, whenever the commentator begins to speak, right? So what they do is first they tell you the purpose of the verse, why the verse is there, why this particular text is there. So this is a very important thing. So the statement that describes the purpose of the text is known as Avataranika. Avataranika in Sanskrit. It is an introductory statement which tells you why this particular text is here. So typically, any commentator would, that's how they would begin with, tell you the purpose. And then they go to explain the words of the verse. The style is basically very much centered around the text. Whenever you talk about commentaries, they're very much centered around the text itself. And they won't, like, it won't be like they just see the text and then they start explaining. No, they would go quite systematically, word by word. All the meanings and all they are derived looking at the original text only. This way. So Sridhar Swami says here, you can see, Tatra Maushala Prasangartham Purvaskandartham Anuvadati Shlokadvayena Kritveti. So Sridhar Swami says that what is the purpose of this text? Kritveti, the text beginning with Kritva, the Kritva iti. So typically, till the time you see this iti, you can rest assured that it is avatarani. It is introductory statement because it is talking about what the verse is talking about. So typically, they will take the first word of the verse and they will say iti. Like here, it is kritva. So kritva iti. So before that, he is telling what is the purpose of this verse. So Sridhar Swami says Mausala Prasangartham, because Shukadev wants to describe Mausala Leela or Maushala Leela, that Musala or Mushala, that iron lump or iron club that was derived from the prank of Samba. He was having some. The story comes ahead, right? You all know. So from his belly, that iron lump, it came out. So that is Musala. And this pastime is centered around that. That became the cause of distraction on this particular lump, lump or iron club. Different ways it is translated. Whatever. The point is that iron mass that was there. So that's why it is known as Maushalali. Mausalali. So Mausala Prasangartham, because he wants to describe the Mausala Leela. So what does Shukdev do? Shukdev speaks again the summary of the previous canto in two verses. He is basically just speaking for the sake of Sangati, connection. He is connecting it to the prior canto because now he wants to bring up the topic of how Lord Krishna departed, this whole Mausal Prasanga. So that's why he is sort of just summarily speaking from last canto only. So this is called as Anuvad. Anuvad in normal language vernaculars, you may mean translation, but in Sanskrit, Anuvad need not mean translation. Anuvada literally means repeating. Uh, It means I say something, if you say behind me, say after me, then that is called as Anuvad. Like in typical shlokas and all, you know that the shloka recitation is done, and then there is Anuvad done by the rest of the students. That is called Anuvad. So Purva Skandartham Anuvadati. He says that Shukdev speaks again the summary of the previous canto, or you can say the meaning of the previous canto in just two verses. Well, what happened, he just sort of summarizing it. Krishna performed so many pastimes which are spoken in the 10th canto, right? So he just summarizing it so that he can continue now the story from there ahead. How many verses are giving this anuvad, this summary of the prior canto only? Previous canto, it is shloka dvayena by two verses. Two verses are speaking this, meaning this text and the next text, both of them are speaking that summary only. This way. So here we see that Kritva Daityavadham Saramo Yadubhirvrataha. So Krishna, he performed the killing of various demons or demoniac personalities by help of Balaram and also by the help of the Yadus and all that. And then finally, in order to completely relieve the burden of the earth, he also incited a great quarrel, incited a great fight. Janayan, incited, instigated, spawned great fight, Kalim. So that Javishtham, that fight or that great war is said to be Javishta. Javishtham, Sridhar Swami says, means Vegavattaram, Atishidram. It was a sudden outbreak. Very quickly it came out to be a big war, a very fierce kind of war. So Javishtam means with a great speed or suddenly, at once. Uh, Although Lord Krishna had certainly desired that he wants to destroy all the demoniac kings and all, but the outburst of that war was like very sudden, immediately. They were Pandavas and all of them were happy to rule with even five villages, but then when that didn't happen, and even Krishna was tried to be insulted uh, by capturing him. So then there was no recourse but war. So then suddenly the situation was now that there will be this huge war happening between Kauravas and Pandavas this way. So that's why it is said to be Javishvam, Atishidram. It suddenly developed and it was very fierce, going to be very fierce because all the warriors of the world either party, they will take the side, they will be partisans of one particular side. So it's going to be very fierce war. Himsa paryavasayinam iti arthaha. Sridhar Swami says this means that it will lead to a great violence. Himsa paryavasayinam. There will be paryavasana. It will end up into a great violence. It ended into a great violence, right? We know. So such was the fierce destruction that happened in the Kurukshetra war. Practically, hardly few soldiers, warriors, they remained. Otherwise, everyone was destroyed. So that is the meaning of Javishtham. Krishna caused a very terrible kind of war, and then that wiped off all the other burdening of the earth also. Krishna himself had unburdened the earth, and then he also unburdened her through this great Kurukshetra war. After that, practically, there was no Shatru of uh, Yudhishthir, hardly any Shatru, right? Ajata Shatru. Anyway, Yudhishthir he never accepted anyone as his enemy, but others accepted him as his enemy. Uh, Ajata Shatru, the meaning is there is na jatah shatru yasya saha jata shatru, one whose enemy is not born. But then Duryodhan was his enemy, right? He was born. So how is he ajata shatru? So Vamshidhar, one of the acharyas, he gives very wonderful explanation. He says, because Duryodhan and company, they were not born in a regular way, like normal delivery. So they were said to be ajata. They were not born like that. So Ajata, all the Kauravas were known as Ajatas because they did not come out from the mother's womb like a normal child, right? You know that Gandhari, she was very upset that Kunti gave birth to uh, sons before her, and that's why Gandhari bet her womb, and then that's how there was miscarriage that happened. So then that whole lump that was there in the womb, that was divided by Vyasadeva, and that's how the Kauravas were born. So they are said to be Ajata in that sense. They are not born in a normal way. Ajata Shatru. So that's why Yudhishthir, he had these enemies who these enemies considered Yudhishthir as his enemy, as their enemy. Yudhishthir never considered them as enemy. So that's why Ajata Shatru. So Yudhishthir is Ajata Shatru in that sense. Yudhishthir is not accepting anyone as his enemy. But then others, they took him as an enemy, like Duryodhan, Dushasana, and all those who were from their side, like Karna and all of others. So all these people were killed. So, but after this, Yudhishthir, after that war, really became Ajatashatru. There was practically no one to challenge any authority of Yudhishthir because there was no one living only. Meaning, I'm just talking about Kshatriyas or Kshatriya warriors. Most of them were gone. So that's why it is Himsa Paryavasai, Javishtham. It was a very, very terrible, deadly, fierce kind of battle. Kalim means Kalaham. Krishna instigated a quarrel, Kalaha, or a fight that was very fierce, sudden, very fierce, and very violent also in that manner. Vishwanath Chakravarti also writes in the similar manner. He repeats many words from the commentary of Sridhar Swami, but he also talks something more. He says, Muktim ekadashetra skandhe nirupayan kinchit avashishtam tat charitram vaktum purvoktanuvadena upakramate kritvetyadina. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Atra skandhe, ekadashe skandhe. In this 11th chapter, 11th canto, the topic is mukti. And in order to describe or explain that mukti, kinchit avashishtam tat charitra. Lord Krishna's charitra, Lord Krishna's uh, life, which was some part of it was yet not yet described. It was avashishtam, it was still remaining, right? In the 10th canto, there is no description of Lord's disappearance. So that is what he means by kinchit avashishtam. That which was remaining, he wanted to describe that. And that is why Shukadeva Goswami, he's again connecting to the summary of the prior canto by speaking two verses. Purvokta anuvadena. Whatever is spoken before in the 10th canto, he is doing anuvada of that. And then that is how he is beginning here. Upakramate. Upakrama is the beginning. Upakrama, upasamhara. These words you can remember. Upakrama means the beginning. Upasamhara means the end. So there are six Tatparya lingas, six ways in which you can understand the purpose of a book, what this book stands for. So they are known as Tatparya lingas. Jiva Goswami quotes them in Sandarbhas. Upakrama, Upasamharo, Upakrama, Upasamharo. abhyaso, apurvata, cha. Then phala and upapatti. Uh, so there is upakrama, there is upasamhara, there is abhyas, there is apurvata, there is phala, there is upapatti. So these are six Tatparya lingas. We are not getting into that. We will see it as whenever it appears. We also want to utilize these systems. But these six features are used by Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas to show how Bhagavan is the purpose of Bhagavatam. Bhagavan is the topic of Bhagavatam. That's it. Bhagavatam literally means that only. Bhagavata proktam tat Bhagavatam. That which is spoken by Bhagavan is known as Bhagavatam. Or that which is about Bhagavan also. Yes. Bhagavad Vishayakam Bhagavatam. That which is about Bhagavan is also known as Bhagavatam. Or see, many meanings, in fact, Acharyas have given so many beautiful meanings of the word Bhagavatam. In that text, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parairishwa. Bhagavataha idam tat Bhagavatam. That which belongs to Krishna is also known as Bhagavatam. This scripture belongs to Krishna. Every scripture belongs to Krishna, but when you say belongs, it means that Krishna takes this scripture as his own. He will not tolerate anybody misconstruing this scripture. Like that's why even Shankaracharya did not touch Bhagavad. He misconstrued some other scriptures. Of course, we know that if he was instructed for that, he's doing it as a thankless service. But the point is here, he never touched Bhagavatam because Bhagavataha idam, Swamikam idam, Bhagavat Swamikam idam. This is owned by the Lord. This is possessed by the Lord, and he owns it. He decides whom the scripture should be given. It's not a matter of just reading on our own. He decides whom to award it. So, like that, multiple 5, 6, 7, 8 meanings like that of the word Bhagavad. Anyway, what I was trying to talk about here is that this way the whole purpose of Bhagavatam is Bhagavan, and that is shown by the Tatparya lingas in Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas. Upakrama, Upasamhar. He shows how beginning of Bhagavatam is Bhagavan, the end of Bhagavatam is Bhagavan, repetition, Abhyasa is Bhagavan, the unique topic Apurvata is also Bhagavan, Phalam, the fruit or the result is also said to be Bhagavan. Also Upapatti in terms of the explanation of all this thing. Everything is Bhagavan only. So that's why Bhagavan is the purpose of Bhagavatam. So here also Upakram is happening here in the beginning 11th canto. The Upakrama is that he's beginning with a summary of those two verses from the last, based on the last canto. It's a summary of sort of last canto. That's why. Yes. So we go to the text and purport of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. You see there, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they talk about how 11th canto begins with a reference to the pastimes executed by Lord Krishna in the 10th canto. So this is spoken by the Acharyas, right? So that is described here also. Then they talk about difference between the Asuras and Suras, or sometimes the Daityas. Literally, Daityas means those who are offsprings of Diti. Ditehe apatyam puman Daitya. The male child of Diti will be known as Daitya. Like that. But then they are sometimes also used in a generic sense. Like now, here Daitya Vadham, Krishna kills so many demons, right? So like Putana, Shaktasur, all of them. So it's not that they are considered Diti's offsprings or anything. So the point is that it is sometimes used in a generic sense. Asura and Daitya, they may be equated also, like that. But these are different words. Usually, Asuras are in the mode of passion, while Rakshasas or even Daityas, they can, especially they are in the mode of ignorance. For Daityas, it can be anything. They can also be in passion or ignorance. Uh, uh, Rakshasas are typically in mode of ignorance. Yakshas or Rakshasas. Then there is also a variety of those also. Yakshas and Rakshasas are predominated by mode of ignorance, while Asuras are predominated by mode of passion. That way. So that's why you can see that Rakshasas are very fierce. They can be cannibals also, because the aspect of especially cruelty and the aspect of being ferocious that is there in the Rakshasas more. Third Canto also explains this. That's why they predominate over the night, especially night time. So that's how. Anyway, here Daitya means that all these demons, Krishna himself killed those demons. So what's the difference between Daitya or Asura and Sura? Prabhupada quotes many times. Uh, Krishna, Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Daiva, Asurastad Vipadya. So that is explained over here. He also, the Prabhupada's disciples, they have also quoted from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gives also some interesting reasons why Krishna decided to arrange the destruction of his dynasty. Actually, this topic is going to come ahead, but it is put right here that it is mentioned. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has revealed that although many demigods had taken birth in Yadu dynasty to assist the Lord, some members of Yadu dynasty were actually inimical towards Krishna. So, why did Krishna arrange for destruction of the Yadus? That's the topic which is being dealt in text 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has an interesting comment on that, that some of the Yadus were actually also inimical. It's not that all the Yadus were either eternal associates or the portions of the Devatas. No, some of them were also inimical. Some of them were also, they had become quite puffed up, and then that's why they had become envious of Krishna's position. So anyway, this discussion will come ahead, but it's there mentioned in the purport this way. So for that purpose, Krishna also arranged the destruction of the others. Fine. So we go ahead. Text 2. Ye ko pita subahu pandu suta sapatnair durdyuta helana kacha grahanadibhistan कृत्वा निमित्तमितरे तरतः समेतान् हत्वा नृपान् निरहरत् क्षितिभारम् ईशः. So this is the text 2 now. 2 verses are talking about summary from the prior canto, right? Just to connect it to this canto. So text 2, here again, we see that translation here now. Ravindra Sachiputra bro, can you please read the translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat.
Because the sons of Pandu were enraged by the numerous offenses of their enemies, such as duplicitous gambling, verbal insults, the seizing of Draupadi's hair, and many other cruel transgressions, the Supreme Lord engaged those Pandus as the immediate cause to execute his will. On the pretext of the battle of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna arranged for all the kings who were burdening the earth to assemble with their armies on opposite sides of the battlefield. And when the Lord killed them through the agency of war, the earth was relieved of its burden. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So here also, now this text too, it is a Padya, and this is a different meter. You must have seen this is Vasanta Tilaka. In Sanskrit, it is known as Vasanta Tilakam, Vasanta Tilaka. The famous Brahma Samhita's meter. All of you are aware of how to recite Brahma Samhita. So this text is following the same meter called as Vasanta Tilakam. So in this particular text also, Niraharat, that's the verb, Niraharat, which means Nisheshena Aharat. He completely took away, uh, he completely removed. What did he completely remove? Kshitibharam. He completely removed the Kshitibharam, which means the burden of the earth. Who is that? Ishaha. Ishaha Kshitibharam Niraharat. This is subject, object, and verb in this particular shloka. Ishaha, that Supreme Lord, he took away the burden of the earth completely. So that's the basic subject, object, verb. Now, other things, they are speaking something additional to here before Krishna did this thing. So, what is being said? Ye kopita asubahu pandu suta sapatnayar. So, the Pandu Sutta, the Pandavas were very much enraged or angered. Kopitaha. They were very much angered. By whom? Sapatnai, by their enemies. Kauravas, Duryodhana and Kauravas. And they were not angered just once or twice. Subahu, varam varam, so many times they were angered. So many times they were tortured or they were tried to be killed, right? We know how many difficulties Pandavas went through. So that's why the Pandavas actually were very much angered by these enemies because they were trying to torture them and kill them, although apparently no good reason actually. They were the rightful claimants of the kingdom. So, in what all ways the Pandavas were angered or enraged by these enemies like Duryodhana and all? So, that is mentioned. Durdyuta, Helana, Kacha, Grahanadibhi. By activities such as, Durdyuta, that Dyuta, that dice game, it was not Sudyuta. Of course, there is nothing called as Sudyuta. It is Durdyuta, meaning it was a very, very bad, terrible dice game, right? Because we know that Pandavas lost everything, and then such a horrible incident of trying to disrobe Draupadi there. So it became a Sat Sabha. It was not a Sat Sabha. A Sat Sabha. That whole assembly of Kurus was a Sat Sabha. And that whole dice game was actually a very, very terribly bad, egregious kind of uh, the game of dice. Durdyuta, Helana. Also, they were humiliated, right? The Pandavas were humiliated, especially verbally. Helanam is verbal by the use of Vani. So they were spoken very bad words at. They were speaking terribly about Pandavas. Kacha Grahanadibhi, and also in that same assembly, we know that Draupadi, she was brought out in a very terrible manner by Dushasana. He mishandled her by seizing her hair. Those were said to be such beautiful hairs, which were very nicely sanctified in the Rajasuya assembly. But those hairs, they were seized and she was dragged like that by Dushasana. So it was terrible. Kachagrahana. So Krishna, he was very, very upset with that. In fact, Krishna decided that just as Draupadi's hairs were loosened by Dushasana, so I will cause all the warriors' wives also to loosen their hair by causing the death of their husbands. So they will also weep because they have made my devotee Draupadi weep. So we know that then Krishna Through this war, he indeed accomplished that. So, in this way, the Pandavas were troubled in many, many ways. So, tan nimittam kritva. So, what Krishna did is he made them nimitta. He made them as the immediate cause, that because they were not offered the 5 villages also. So, they needed the rightful claim, their kingdom, which was their rightful claim. So, in this way, Pandavas were made the nimitta. And by making them nimitta, Krishna actually wanted to execute his own will, which was to destroy all these demonic things, this burden of the earth. So, Kritva, Tan Nimittam Kritva, those Pandavas were made into immediate cause. And then Krishna, Itare Tarataha Sametan Hatva. So he caused all the demoniac kings, they assembled from the side of Adharma, and they all assembled from the side of Kauravas. And then through this battle, he accomplished the killing of each other. Itare tarataha, meaning they finished them, they finished each other's, all these demoniac kings. Of course, in that battle, also the pious kings were destroyed. Naturally, in a dharma yuddha, one side would be dharma, another side would be adharma. So obviously, there is destruction of both the parties. But the result that they achieve is very different, isn't it? Right? You know, especially those who fought from Krishna's side, all those, Vishwanath Chakravarti in his third canto gives various results that were achieved by the warriors on the battlefield. Those who developed, those who died on the battlefield looking at Krishna and developing, affection for Krishna, or at least not having the demoniac feeling or feeling of envy or enmity towards Krishna, they all achieved Lord's abode. They achieved the eternal abode of the Lord. Those who did not get opportunity to see Krishna and died on the battlefield, they attained Swarga. Those who died on the battlefield but with, you can say, with feelings of enmity towards Krishna, such people attained Brahman. They went to Brahmajyoti. And the opposite parties people also attained Swarga, because that's how Dharma Yuddha is glorious. So even you fight from side of Adharma also, but you lay down your life by the virtue of Dharma Yuddha, you may attain the destination like Swarga. But then, there are different destinations. Vishwanath Chakravarti talks about this in that famous verse from the Bhishma, disappearance of Bhishma. Yam niriksha, yam nirikshiha hata gata swarup. And also you can see the commentary of another verse from third canto. Tathaiva channe nahalokavi. These two verses commentary gives this categorization of various destinations achieved by Kurukshetra warriors, like that. So that's how Krishna accomplished. Itarayetara sametan hatva, by killing those kings, by accomplishing it, by killing each other. Niraharat, nisheshena aharat. Krishna completely destroyed the burden. Before he had destroyed the burden, partially he had himself killed so many demons, right? Also Balaramji had killed, Yadus had killed. But now through Kurukshetra war, niraharat, aharat, nir, which means here complete nishesha. Just finished it off. Niraharat Kshitibharam Ishaha, the Supreme Lord Isha, he in this way finished this burden of the earth. See Sridhar Swami, he continues, Etad Vibranoti, that this is only explained further. What is this? This means the unburdening of the earth, removal of the burden of the earth. That is only explained further. Vivrinoti is Vivaran. Vivaran is further explanation. In the verse starting with Ye Kopita, iti, this verse beginning with Ye Kopita. Yeah. Srila Swami says, Subahu yatha bhavati tatha bahuvaran iti artha. The Pandavas were angered by the Kauravas many, many times. In so many ways, actually, multiple times. Tadeva, that is only spoken by these words. Durdyuta helana kachagrahana. Durdyutam means kapata dyutam. See, this is the style of explanation you can see. First, they will quote the word of the verse and then they will give the meaning. So, Durdyutam is the word of the verse and Kapata Dyutam is the meaning. That dice game was what? It was it was full of kapat, right? It was full of duplicity, cheating actually, cheating game. It was not played lawfully, whatever it means. Kapata Dyutam, it was played in a very, very unlawful manner. Helanam means avadnya. Helanam means verbal humiliation. Avadnya. Kachagrahanam Dushasanena Draupadyaha Keshakarsanam. Dushasan, he grabbed the hairs of Draupadi and he pulled her actually in the assembly. Etani Adir Gesham. So these all were the mistreatments that they did. But there were also other Garadana. They were fed poison. Bhima was fed poison. Jatugrahadaha and also Jatugrahadaha, which means the house of Shalak, the Lakshagraha episode. So many ways, right? Maharani also speaks Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanan, all those different calamities. So Taihi Kritva ye Kopitaha Tan Pandu Suttan Nimittam Kritva. So because of this, the Panduputras, even the Pandavas were also enraged, especially Arjuna and Bhima. They were very much enraged. Yudhishthira was, he was of mild nature, but especially Arjuna and Bhima were very much angry on Kauravas. So that's why they were made the Nimitta and Krishna accomplished the purpose. Itare tarataha ubhayoho pakshayoho sametan militan nripan. So Krishna accomplished the killing of those assembled warriors by having them fight with each other. Krishna accomplished that. Srila Swami also says further, Ye tavat prakat daityaha putanadayaha tan swayameva hatvan. Srila Swami gives some additional details. He says, Prakata Daitya, those who were manifest demons, and those who were out and out demons, unlike Putana or like Shaktasur, like all these other demons that Krishna killed, even in Braja, or even in people like Paundraka and all of them. Prakata Daitya. So those who were the demons in manifested way, straight away they were out and out demons only. So they were killed by Lord himself. Swayameva Hatva. Putana and others. Sri Krishna killed them personally. Yeto Daitya Bandhava Chadmana Sthitaha Tan Parasparam Nimittam Vidhaya Hatva Bhubharam Apakrithavan iti artha. But those Daityas, those demons which were Bandhava Chadma, who were in the garb of relatives, who were in the garb of well-wishers and relatives, maybe many of them kings also. Bandhava Chadma, understand? They were only demoniac, but they were actually relatives or they were kings or like that. So such people, for them, Krishna also, he didn't kill them personally, but he arranged this whole battle of Kurukshetra. And he had a fight between them, and thus he got rid of the burden of the earth. Bharam apakritavan. This way, he relieved the burden of the earth. Jiva Goswami also mentions Niraharat Prayaha Swarita Bharante Nisheshena Aharat iti. Having removed the most of the burden himself, Praya, he removed the burden completely through the war. War was there for Nisheshena, for complete removal of the burden. After that, there was just Yudhishthira's realm, which is practically considered to be like Satyayuga. There were no envious people, nothing, no influence of Kali or anything. You can see Lord Krishna, after his departure, Kali came. But when Lord Krishna was there, that time itself also Kali's influence was there. I mean, that's why Lord comes also, right? Ramasya Glani. So naturally there is influence of Kali. Duryodhana was Kali's Amsha himself, that way. But then that Kali became most powerful after Lord Krishna departed. As soon as Lord Krishna departed, on that day, on that moment, Kali, he appeared on the earth. Bhagavatam says that, first canto. This way. So, Dvitiya Pakshe Tasyam Prayikatvam Nyayam Shushupaladau Vyabhichara. In the second meaning, Sridhar Swami has given two meanings of that word Kopita. So basically, he means that we should understand that Lord killed the most of the demoniac relatives through the war. But Shishupala and others are an exception. These were relatives, but still he killed them himself. So it's not like any particular reason, but basically some of them he killed himself, some of them he got them killed through his relatives. So especially Krishna, he kills most powerful demons only, or the demons which are part of his pastimes, the demons which join his pastime. So he himself kills them. And the destination achieved by the demons killed by Krishna and by those who killed by others, they may be different. Especially when Krishna kills a demon, he gives them liberation, which can mean from Sayuja all the way up to going back home. Hatari Gatidaya. So Sridhar Swami just wants to point out that Shishupal and others who were also relatives of Krishna, but then he killed them himself. We know because of the specific reason. Okay, all right. So today, because of the disturbance of internet and all, sorry, I could not complete my planned thing. But then, yeah, I hope that I will figure out the proper internet thing and there won't be any disturbance further. So I think today I will stop here. It's already 12:25. So I stop here in case you need to leave. Please go ahead. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For those who have questions, please stay back and you may ask the questions. Chakrapani Prabhu, Chakrapani Krishna Prabhu, is that you, Prabhu?
Yeah, only Prabhu.
So, yes. Haribol. Yeah, Prabhu.
Prabhu, can you please open the one you had made now, where English translation and along with that the Sanskrit, that.
Yes, Prabhu.
So here in the first verse, I think this is second verse. I mean second text.
You want
Please
first?
go to the first one. So here, correct. So
Yeah, here.
you had mentioned that avatarayad is the main verb, right?
Yeah.
But here, if you see in the translation, it appears that they used avatarayad as part of a sentence, like further to remove the burden of the earth, and then they made something like arranged for the battle of Kurukshetra.
Yeah.
This is not the direct verb evident from the verse itself, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, is there such liberties allowed, or how to understand this?
No, that's how, bro. Like when you are going to now learn from this, I mean, you are yourself maybe aware also already. But yeah, basically, when you go by Sanskrit, no, then Prabhu, you will see these things also. So sometimes there are differences in the translation, and then so how we understand is sometimes the translation may not be accurate from the literal aspect. Like if I were to translate it, I would have said that Javishtham Janayan Kalim, right? Have instigating the great quarrel, Krishna, he removed the burden of the life.
Correct. Yeah.
That's how it should have been. But then sometimes there could be other factors because they are presenting in English. So if they feel that this is going to be a little complicated to understand, like that, so then they may sometimes change the main verb or but typically the literal translation should go in that manner because Janayan Prabhu here is Shatru Pratyayanta, which means while creating or while it's a process which is in continuation. Janayan, like Dhyayan, Stuvan, in that manner. So that's why the right thing would be like that. But then I think it's okay because point is that this is English, no? So we don't worry so much about
Yeah,
it. If
understood
I
the.
were to see the Sanskrit Anvaya, and then if somebody says Avatarayat is not the verb, but Janayan is the verb, then that won't be.
Correct. So, why I'm bringing this point is maybe that is one of the reasons why we also have to keep Sanskrit as the base and then try to understand the verse and the content, right? That's one of the
Absolutely, bro.
reasons.
Absolutely. I mean, you just understand where is the focus here and what is the additional detail. All that.
Correct.
In fact, as it will go ahead, you will come to know so many features of why that study from Sanskrit will come because so much of meaning comes out by the original text. So yes, it is true. That's how we should study. Maybe even if it is slow, it is okay, but then it is precise and it is free from errors.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. What is it? Nilachal Chandrika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I wanted to ask you, first of all, thank you so much for taking so much pains and, teaching dumb fools like me all this difficult Sanskrit verses and their meanings. So I wanted to know just maybe a silly question. Since Dushasan dragged Draupadi into the Asat Sabha, so Krishna, he incited that all the Kauravas' wives also to loosen their hair. So is there any significance of this hair? Is it for widows or any
Yeah.
sign, some
Yes,
sort of sign?
Mataji. True. When a woman loses her husband, then naturally she has to loosen her hair, and in that condition, she also, typically I'm saying in Vedic times and all, typically then the woman she has to lose the Keshbandha and then the tying of the hairs and then the grief, the devastation is expressed by crying bitterly like that with the loosened hair and all other articles or symptoms of her having a husband. They are taken away like Sindhu, the bangles or whatever, a number of things that the women have to show that they are with a husband. So vidhava, dhava means the husband, vidhava, vigata. So they have lost the husband now. So then they have to, all their hairs and all are loosened. So Krishna, when he says, when he thought like that, I will cause all the Kauravas' wives to loosen their hair. It is from that angle that as widows, they will have to loosen their hair and cry bitterly, like that, in that sense.
But now Kali Yuga is so much like everybody wants to loosen their hair. So
Typically, actually, Smritis also speak about this aspect of culture that the lady, which she's a cultural lady, she always has a kesha bandha. They are not only different other kinds of women, which are loose women. They loosen their hairs. That's true. That's spoken in Smritis also.
mm,
But these are cultural. So much of Kali Yuga's influence is there. So
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else wants to ask anything pertaining to today's discussion? Of course, we just discussed 2 verses, so there's not much to ask about. But yeah, still, in case you have anything to ask. Okay, so I don't see any questions then. So then I think we should stop here for today. Or let me just see if there are any questions on the chat. Okay, there is one question about Tatparya Lingas. Okay, I'll just put the whole Tatparya Lingas verse only here so that if you have any question pertaining to other elements of Upakram, Upasamhar, or like that, so you can take a look at that. I'll post on the group this Tatparya Linga verse. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samastacharya Vrinda ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, are available for a minute or two? Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
You can call me up, Prabhu.
Okay.
My number.
Sure.
Thank you.